Let me start this video with a simple metaphor. If you throw a frog into boiling water, it jumps out instantly, right? But if you place it in warm water and heat it slowly, it relaxes, adjusts, and eventually it boils to death. That's exactly how most of today's relationships work. They don't destroy us all at once. They drain us slowly, silently, bit by bit, and we just sit there, unaware that the water's getting hotter, telling ourselves, it's fine, just one more conversation. But here's the truth. Almost everyone today is addicted to something. And I'm not talking about the usual stuff like alcohol or cigarettes. We've become addicted to stimulation itself. Think about it. We can't sit still anymore. Silence feels unbearable. We're always watching, scrolling, clicking. Even while eating, we need to have a show playing in the background. Otherwise, the food doesn't even taste right. This constant stimulation is pulling us into a life we never chose. One day we wake up and wonder, how did my life end up like this? But instead of stopping, we make another cup of coffee, stay busy with meaningless things, and keep repeating the same cycle. Yet if we learn to step away from this loop, we can escape that darkness that slowly eats away at us. We can become productive, confident, focused, and finally truly satisfied with who we are. Of course, many of us have tried to quit these toxic habits or relationships before. Maybe we succeeded for a while, but somehow we always came back. It's like climbing a steep hill. Exhausting, repetitive, and frustrating. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to rebuild your life and finally break free. Before we begin, though, we have to understand how the flow of reward works inside the brain, because if you don't understand the root of the problem, you'll keep fixing the roof without realizing the foundation is already cracked. Addiction isn't about weakness. It's about how our brain's reward system misfires. When something stresses us, we reach for chocolate, a drink, a show, social media, or sex. All of these things spike a chemical called dopamine, the feel-good hormone. Your brain learns that pattern and tells you, yes, do that again. But remember this, everything that goes up must eventually come down. Dopamine works the same way. After it peaks, it drops. And not just back to normal, it often dips even lower than before. When dopamine drops, it doesn't just return to normal, it falls even lower. And that's where it begins, the quiet collapse. No motivation, no sleep, no joy. You can't get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. That's how addiction is born. The brain can't stand that pain, so it tries to save you. It hits restart, phone again, video again. One more moment of pleasure, but that cycle makes it harder to enjoy simple, real things. Like reading a book, taking a walk, or having a real conversation. You open a book, but by the fifth sentence, you're bored. Because your brain is used to fast, overstimulating content. When people notice this, they usually tell themselves, just stop. But that never works. If it did, we wouldn't even be talking about addiction. Because what you're addicted to has already become part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Quitting it suddenly feels almost impossible. So how do we actually break free? The first and hardest step is to be honest with yourself and admit that you're addicted. It sounds simple, but most people aren't even aware of the habits that are quietly destroying their lives. And even when they are, they don't want to admit it. Because admission brings responsibility. You tell yourself, I'm just relaxing. I'm socializing with friends. It's just my downtime. But deep down, after hours of scrolling or watching, you feel empty, drained, unfulfilled. At that point, addiction is no longer harmless. It's a mental parasite, like a spy infiltrating a fortress from the inside. From the outside, everything still looks fine. The towers are standing, the flag is waving, the guards are in place. But inside, something unseen is quietly eroding the walls. That's what addiction does. It eats away at your freedom from within. It starts small, one show, one game, one 5-minute video. But soon it takes control. And in the end, the fortress doesn't fall from outside attack. It collapses from the surrender, growing silently inside. The most dangerous part? You don't even realize you're in danger. Think about it. If someone told you, you're going to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day, yell at a screen, waste your energy, and go nowhere, you'd never agree. But when it comes disguised as a game, an app, or a show that mirrors your pain, you say yes without even noticing what it's doing to you. You slowly eat away at your own mental well-being, but you trick yourself by thinking everyone else does it too. Video games or TV shows aren't evil on their own. Of course not. Let's be honest, it's still better than taking a random needle from a stranger on the street and putting it in your vein. But that's not the point. The question is, who's in control? Are you the one watching the show? Are you the one playing the game? Or has what you're doing started to control you? Because if you've lost control, it's no longer pleasure, it's a chain. And that chain, piece by piece, quietly pulls you away from life itself. The second step isn't to completely cut out your bad habits. It's to transform them. If you've watched my older videos, you might remember the time when I lost almost everything. A story of collapse, betrayal, and a version of me that was crushed under it all. That's when it began for me. When I couldn't handle the pain anymore, the bottle in my hand looked like comfort. But eventually I realized something powerful. I wasn't drinking alcohol. Alcohol was drinking me. Days passed in a blur. Nights ached with regret. Whether I was studying or pretending to be productive, I was only sinking deeper. With every sip, I drifted farther away from myself, my dreams, the people I loved. Each morning felt heavier than the last. I wasn't living anymore. I was just repeating my existence. And the addiction wasn't my only problem. It was a symptom of something deeper. It was how I avoided myself. That was when I discovered Stoicism, almost by accident. I remember a quote by Marcus Aurelius that struck me like lightning. If a man repeats the same mistakes over and over, it's no longer a mistake. It's his character. That sentence changed me. It made me realize I wasn't just going through a bad period. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, and I had allowed it. Stoicism taught me this truth. Life can crush you. People can betray you. Circumstances can leave you helpless. But if you quietly allow your own collapse, you're no longer the victim. You've become a participant. And once you see that truth, you can't keep living the same way. I realized that if I didn't change, I would eventually disappear. So I took one small, determined step. I changed my entire environment. I cut ties with people who didn't add anything to my life, but still pretended to care. I started working out. It was hard at first, but over time, it became natural. The more I trained, the less I needed alcohol. because I was no longer empty. My time was full. My body was tired in a good way. And for the first time in a long while, I felt truly alive. I started watching fitness videos on YouTube. I learned so much, from how muscles actually grow to how nutrition affects recovery. The content I watched took my time, yes, but this time, it didn't rot me from the inside. It built me. For once, being distracted was productive. And the best part? After every workout, I actually felt good. Dopamine was still there, but this time it didn't bring regret. It brought pride. Here's the key insight. Science now confirms that you can't eliminate a habit without replacing it. You can't just erase a bad pattern. You must replace it with a better one. So you introduce your brain to a new source of reward. But this new source shouldn't be fast or artificial. It has to be slow, stable, and sustainable. That could mean exercising, reading a book, drawing, taking a walk, learning something new, or even having a real, meaningful conversation with a friend. What matters is offering your brain something that feels good, but lifts you up instead of tearing you down. But sometimes replacing one habit with another isn't enough. Some patterns run so deep that even healthy routines can't fully fill the void. I've lived that myself. I was working out regularly. I was reading, learning, writing. But still, in quiet moments, that old craving would find a way back in. There were even times I caught myself reaching for the bottle again, almost unconsciously. Old habits have roots. They wait in the dark, patient, ready to grow again. It felt like I was cutting the branches, but never pulling out the roots. And then something changed. My curiosity for Stoic philosophy, combined with my lifelong dream of writing, pulled me deeper into it. I realized something simple but powerful. Everything begins and ends in the mind. When I truly absorbed that idea, the world itself didn't change, but the way I saw it did. Later, I even helped someone close to me quit smoking, just by sharing what I learned from Stoicism about discipline and awareness. If you've seen that video, you'll find the link down in the description. And once I started to see real change, I used my background as a writer and decided to create this Stoic philosophy YouTube channel. It had one purpose: to genuinely help people. Because let's be honest, what passes for Stoicism online today has lost much of its meaning. Some so-called Stoic men on YouTube turned a 2,000-year-old philosophy about patience and virtue into a manipulative playbook for dominance over women. They took Marcus Aurelius's reflections on self-control and wisdom and turned them into, "If she doesn't text you back, do this" tutorials, with sad background music, as if Stoicism was written as a dating strategy, not as a guide to mastering the self. It wasn't just an insult to philosophy, it was an insult to humanity itself, and I wanted to stand against that. Then something unexpected happened. My very first video exploded with views. What usually takes creators years to build happened for me in a single month. Maybe it was luck, or maybe, like Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Either way, I had found my direction. I set clear goals, and reaching them became my obsession. Those early morning hours that once belonged to alcohol were now filled with writing, editing, and brainstorming. Smoking had already been gone for a long time. Now my mind was consumed by new ideas, scripts, titles, structure, production. And after a while, I realized something powerful. Alcohol no longer tempted me, not because I was forcing myself to avoid it, but because I simply didn't have room for it anymore. I didn't need it. That's when it hit me. We don't need something to numb us. We need something that excites us, a purpose, an obsession, something that shakes your soul awake. Maybe it's a long-term goal. Maybe it's mastering a craft you've always been curious about. Whatever it is, it has to move you. Because the more your mind is filled with positive obsession, the less space there is for addiction. The brain hates emptiness. You either fill it or your addictions will. In short, you need a reason to get out of bed every morning. But even then, there will be days, dark days, when the old habits come knocking like an unwelcome friend. That's when your reaction matters the most. My method is simple, but it works. I don't fight the craving. I don't say don't do it or be strong, because that only starts a war in your head. And most of the time, you'll lose that war. Instead, I gently shift my focus. I redirect my thoughts towards something beautiful, a happy memory, a peaceful moment. Sometimes I picture a childhood scene, sledding down snowy hills with my grandfather, laughing so hard that I can still hear the echo of it. It's warm, vivid, real. And for a moment, that feeling fills me completely. The craving fades. But then there are other days. Days when nothing feels right. When everything feels heavy and meaningless. Those are the most dangerous days, because that's when old habits whisper the loudest. They wait for you in that emptiness, ready to pull you back into familiar waters. Your brain remembers them as comfort, even if they never truly made you happy. Because to the brain, familiar often feels safer than unknown. But most of the time, those dark feelings aren't caused by the world around you. They come from neglecting yourself, not sleeping well, not eating right, not moving your body, and not connecting with people in a real way. When you abandon your own well-being, your mind doesn't stay silent. It punishes you. It only wants help. And when your mind cries out, it answers with the easiest escape it knows: pleasure. That's where another Stoic lesson comes in. The body is the garment of the soul. If you want to fix your mind, start by straightening your body. That doesn't mean you need to join a gym. A 10-minute walk each day is enough. Make your bed in the morning. End your nights with a book. Spend 3 quiet minutes just breathing. They sound small, but remember, big chains are made of small links. The biggest trap in fighting addiction is falling back into the same loop. Sometimes the only thing you truly need to do is get out of bed, open the window, and notice the sun. Remind yourself that you are still alive. Step 5. Real change doesn't happen just because you try to change. For years, I kept saying, that's it. I'm done. I'll never do it again. Yet every morning, I woke up in the same cycle because I wasn't changing the root. I was only trimming the surface. Behavior is just the branch. The root lies deeper in your beliefs, your identity, your self-image. That's when I realized lasting change begins with identity change. You have to ask yourself, one, who am I? If deep down you still say, I'm weak, I'm an addict, I have no discipline, you might hold on for a few days, but your subconscious will drag you back to the old version of you, because humans always act in line with how they see themselves. My turning point started with a single question: who do I actually want to become? I pictured that person, strong, productive, disciplined, someone who refused to be defined by weakness. It wasn't just a decision, it was a declaration of identity. Think about it. When someone quits smoking and says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," they're still identifying as a smoker. But when they say, "No thanks, I don't smoke," the identity has already shifted. That's the difference. But growth isn't linear. Sometimes you slip. Even after weeks of progress, everything can seem ruined in a single moment. When that happens, guilt kicks in, and guilt drives the brain back toward fast dopamine fixes. Because guilt hurts, and the brain always runs from pain. That's how the cycle restarts. But I learned to tell myself something new in those moments. Yes, I stumbled, but I'm still on the path. I'm not starting from zero. I'm continuing from experience. A few years ago, I couldn't go 3 days without drinking. Now I can go weeks. That's not failure. That's evolution. Maybe next time it's 5 weeks, then 7. And one morning you'll wake up and realize you've gone so long without that habit. You can't even remember how it felt to crave it. The road isn't straight, it's curved, uneven, sometimes dark. But the longer you walk, the steadier your steps become. And one day when you look back, you'll see it clearly. You're no longer the same person you once were. Remember this: no failure defines who you are. No fall is too deep to rise from. Inside you, there is a light, sometimes faint but strong enough to guide an entire lifetime if you keep it alive. Make today the day you protect that light, because you are meant for more. And that journey begins the moment you remember who you truly are. Thank you for watching.